The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and thank you for joining NJCAR's webinar that will discuss the Coalition's 2015 Health Benefits Survey results. Your presenters today are Ward Bowman from Corporate Synergies Group, Bruce Mazzarelli from Fotech Insurance Solutions, a division of Hub International, and Lou Young of Witham Smith & Brown, formerly the Mirnoff Group. Today's webinar will discuss the results of the NJCAR Health Benefits Survey conducted at the end of 2015 and how they might impact dealership decisions regarding the health benefit plans offered. Topics discussed in today's webinar will include carrier choice, plan types, premiums, employer and employee contributions, co-pays, out-of-pocket expenses, health reimbursement arrangements, high-deductible health plans, and much more. Now I'd like to turn things over to Lou, Bruce, and Ward.
Thanks, Brian. This report represents the results from a second annual dealer survey regarding health insurance and related benefits among NJCAR members. In the fall of 2015, the Coalition undertook this study to better understand the healthcare landscape within our member dealerships. The responses encompassed a wide variety of member demographics: large, small, domestic, import, north, central, south. Of the plans reviewed, 33% are offered by dealerships with less than 51 employees. 27% are offered with employers with 51 to 99 employees, and 40% by employers with 100 or more employees. The data received represented 118 separate plans accounting for multiple location retailers. Over 90% of the dealerships surveyed now offer more than one plan option, with 2 or 3 plan choices being the most common solution. This is an annual increase of nearly 20%, now offering more than one plan, representing further trends towards increased employee choice. Let's go through the basics. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield is the most common carrier with 38% market share. This is a loss in market share relative to last year, down from 50%. Aetna, AmeriHealth, and Cigna each gained market share, while Oxford, United, and Qualcare were generally flat. This shows us what the distribution is for the carriers. Bruce, any thoughts on the change from last year?
Yes, thanks, Lou. With respect to carrier choice, the transition that we're seeing a little bit away from Horizon is pretty consistent in terms of what we're seeing in the marketplace. I think health insurance in general tends to be a little bit cyclical in terms of marketplace leadership around plans, product, and choice. I do think, however, on a go-forward basis, Horizon with some of their new programs are probably going to be in a position to increase that market share back up to what we had seen in prior years. And a little bit later in the presentation, we'll be talking about Horizon's OMNIA portfolio, which is a sub-network product that we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. So this is a trend that I think in some respects will be reversed with Horizon continuing to be the market leader.
Fully insured funding represents 83% of the health insurance programs utilized today versus just 17% on a self-funded basis. Network-only plans, including EPO and HMO, account for 45% of the options offered. POS and PPO plans with out-of-network benefits represent 29% of the plans provided, with high-deductible HP representing the remaining 26%. Here we've got the plan types by type. And again, one thing we wanted to mention.
Stop. I think we messed up. It's gonna be this dead air. Why am I not getting? Wait. Hello, and thank you for joining NJ Carr's webinar that will discuss the Coalition's 2015 Health Benefits Survey results. Your presenters today are Ward Bowman from Corporate Synergies Group, Bruce. I got you messed up.
Okay, it's Ward.
Hello, and thank you for joining NJ Carr's webinar that will discuss the Coalition's 2015 Health Benefits Survey results. Your presenters today are Ward. Hello, and thank you for joining NJ Carr's webinar that will discuss the Coalition's 2015 Health Benefits Survey results. Your presenters today are Ward Bowman from Corporate Synergies Group, Bruce Mazzarelli from Fotech Insurance Solutions, a division of Hub International, and Lou Young of Witham Smith & Brown, formerly the Mirnoff Group. Today's webinar will discuss the results of the NJ Carr Health Benefits Survey conducted at the end of 2015 and how they might impact dealership decisions regarding health benefit plans offered. Today's topics discussed will include carrier choice, plan types, premiums, employer and employee contributions, co-pays, out-of-pocket expenses, health reimbursement arrangements, high-deductible health plans, and much more. Now I'd like to turn things over to Lou, Bruce, and Ward.
Thanks, Brian. This report represents the results from the second annual dealer survey regarding health insurance and related benefits among New Jersey Carr members. In the fall of 2015, NJ Carr undertook a study to better understand the health insurance landscape within our member dealerships. The responses encompassed a wide variety of member demographics, large and small, domestic and import, northern, central, and southern dealerships. Of the plans reviewed, 33% are offered by dealerships with less than 51 employees, 27% by employers with 51 to 99 employees, and 40% by employers with 100 or more employees. Over 90% of the dealerships surveyed now offer more than one plan, with two or more plan choices being the most common. This represents an increase of nearly 20% now offering more than one plan, representing a further trend towards increased employee choice. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield is the most common carrier with 38% of the market share. This is a loss in market share relative to last year, down from 50%. Aetna, AmeriHealth, and Cigna each gained market share, while Oxford United and Qualcare were flat. This chart represents the distribution of carriers in the New Jersey arena. Bruce, any comments on this?
Thanks, Lou. I think the reduction in market share by Horizon is not only seen within the dealerships, but also in the market in general. We are in somewhat of a cyclical industry in health insurance, and so that decrease is not unexpected and, again, seen across the industry. At the same time, we're going to talk about some new Horizon products a little bit later in the presentation that I think are going to create a tremendous opportunity for Horizon to regain some of that market share. So again, this is consistent with what we're seeing in the marketplace, but I do think we're going to see some changes going forward from Horizon as well.
Fully insured funding represents 83% of the health insurance programs utilized today versus 17% of self-funded on a self-funded basis. Network-only plans, including EPO and HMO, account for 45% of the options offered. POS and PPO with out-of-network benefits represent 29% of the plans provided, with high-deductible health plans, HD, HP, representing the remaining 26%. This chart shows the distribution of the plans as we see them. Primary care physicians, PCP, as we like to call them, copays vary among non-HDHP plans, but $20 to $30 copays are present on 85% of the plans. $40 to $50 copays are most common specialist copays. More than 75% of the plans now require deductible and coinsurance for hospital-based services. Emergency care costs are usually a deductible or coinsurance, with 44% of the plans reviewed still offering a copay for ER. The below chart details copay frequency as well as coinsurance for PCP and specialist visits. This is the chart for PCP, and then we have specialist responses here. This is the ER copay coinsurance breakdown. Today, 1/3 of the responding dealerships have the maximum out-of-pocket MOOP of $5,000 to $10,000 per covered person. Close to 1/3 of the MOOPs are over $10,000. Compared to last year, out-of-pocket expenses are trending upward. Coinsurance range from 50% to 60%, and it's not uncommon to see out-of-network MOOPs of $10,000 or more with coinsurance. What do you think of these trends?
I think, again, the Affordable Care Act plays a role here in that the out-of-pocket exposures generally are much higher, and you're able to file plans with higher maximum out-of-pockets than we had seen just a few years ago. So the fact that the out-of-pocket maximums, both in-network and out-of-network, are going up is not surprising, and it's often a strategy that's utilized to help reduce the cost of premiums. Obviously, less benefit generally results in less premium. At the same time, unfortunately, it does result in more cost sharing for our employees.
And as you can see here, these are the maximum out-of-pocket in network. And as Bruce just talked about, we are seeing a shift towards the higher end in terms of where these amounts are going. Prescription copay by tier. In a 3-tiered program, $10 to $20 generic copays are most prevalent. $35 to $50 copays are most seen for brand name preferred drug coverage, with non-preferred brand drugs covered by $50 to $75 copays. 34% of the plans required a prescription-specific deductible, which is a reflection of the increase that we're seeing in the high deductible plans. This chart shows what it looks like, what the copays look like by tier. Most dealerships provide for some level of funding referred to as Health Reimbursement Arrangement, HRA, to offset an employee's out-of-pocket costs during the deductible period. A reimbursement or debit card is most commonly funded by dealerships ranging from $500 to $1,250. Again, here you can see the reimbursement levels. And again, compared to last year, we're seeing more of a shift towards the higher reimbursement amounts. This year, we looked at ancillary benefits and added that to the survey to see what types of coverages were out there in addition to the basic medical. Dental insurance was the most common ancillary benefit, with 98% of the respondents indicating dental was offered. Most often, 69% of the time, this was an employee-paid benefit. Employers contributed towards the dental plan 31% of the time. Volunteer off-site benefits paid for by employees are offered at 82% of the responding dealerships. Aflac and American Fidelity are the leading vendors with 44% and 22% of the market share, respectively. Company-paid insurance, life insurance, is offered 64% of the time. Employee-paid life benefits generally range between $15,000 and $30,000. Here's a chart of those benefits. The 2015 survey requested a response to how New Jersey car members addressed a significant health insurance renewal. What was clear is that the solution is offered the solution is often a combination of strategies. 69% of the respondents indicated they would use a combination of changing carriers, modifying plan designs, and increasing employee contributions. Changing carriers alone was the most common single strategy reported by dealerships. It's also clear that plan design changes, as seen by the increase in the HDHP participation, is a strategy considered by many. In today's changing environment, it's important to consider many strategies, including the newest plan design and health insurance funding mechanisms. What do you think of that, Bruce? Are you seeing similar things out in the marketplace?
Yes, I think that, you know, the strategies that are being undertaken in a lot of respects are some of the same strategies that have been undertaken for many years. And I do think that there are some new opportunities that we'll get a chance to talk about towards the end of the presentation. But with respect to making the changes that were responded to or reported within the survey, it's very consistent in the marketplace as a whole. We are seeing changes in carriers, contribution strategies, certainly plan designs, and I think perhaps most significantly a trend towards high deductible health plan participation is definitely creating some opportunities given the fact that health insurance and employee benefits in general is such a significant cost, you know, impacting the bottom line.
Now we move on to the meat of the survey, the premiums and the contributions. To properly analyze the cost of health insurance, a health insurance plan, you must address not only the premiums paid, but also the relative contributions from both the employer and the employee. The average premium for HDHP is charted on the following page. HMO, EPO, POS, and PPOs combined were more moderately priced. Here we have the average HDHP premiums by tier, and you can see what the adjustments are from 2014 to 2015. We had quite a bump here in the increase for premiums for the high deductibles, Bruce. And we've talked about this quite a bit. What do you think is causing that? We didn't see as much for the other plans.
Yeah, I think when we're taking a look at this chart, in some respects it could be a little bit misleading. And the reason I say that is that while the average cost of the high deductible health plan is up fairly significantly, for those folks who had already embraced the approach, we're not seeing significant renewal increases different than what we're seeing in the marketplace. I think we've had a lot of later adopters, which may have not had as positive of a demographic. And when those programs are priced, in spite of the fact that the high deductible health plan strategy may have reduced an individual dealership's costs, the fact is, because they were a late adopter, their demographics may not be as positive, the pricing on those high deductible health plans as reported was higher than what we were seeing in prior years. So I don't think it's necessarily an indication of the trend in premium increases being much higher in the high deductible health plans. I think it's those other factors that we just spoke about.
If I can add one thing to that, Bruce, what we're still seeing is a spread, though, between the high deductible plans and what we're now referring to as more traditional cost sharing or old POS plans.
Absolutely, Ward. I agree with that.
And here we've got all the other plans combined, and you can see, you know, especially for single coverage, we didn't see the bigger bump. Most of the increases for these plans were in the single digits, so percentage increase. So we did not see as much of a shift here. HPs not only provided for lower premiums when you compare the two, they result in lower employee contributions. For the HDHPs, employer contribution cost as a percent of premiums was 61% for single coverage. Dependent coverage cost ranged from 50% to 52%. Across the board, this is a higher employer contribution compared to 2014. And here you can see the 2015 premium cost sharing. For all other plans combined, employer contribution costs as a percent of premium are 52% for single coverage. Dependent coverage ranges from 41% to 45%. Across the board, again, this is similar to the employer contributions from 2014. And again, here we have all other plans, premium cost sharing. When digging deeper into the data, looking at the combined plans, we can begin to see a clear picture of the financial landscape within NJCAR's membership. Accounting for all the plan designs, the average annual cost in 2015 for health insurance among New Jersey car respondents is $6,972 for single employee-only coverage. Couple costs average $14,832, parent-child costs average $12,714, and family costs average $28,020. In order to add perspective to this survey, we looked at the results of several national health benefit surveys. Overall, the average annual cost of coverage increased approximately 7 to 10%. It should be noted, after accounting for all changes in benefit designs, the net growth was approximately 5%. Employee benefits are an important tool in attracting and retaining employees. The process of evaluating health care insurance is a complicated exercise for any business, as you have to account for the quality of the program, the demographics of your population, and the deductible options. It also represents a large expense with a significant impact to the bottom line. Employers worked hard to stem increases by making changes in their plans, such as increasing cost-sharing provisions, expanding high deductible and saving plans, and broadening uses of wellness incentives. As seen within this report, there are many variables to consider. Carrier selection, plan design, funding arrangements, and employee contribution strategies are the primary concerns. Anything to finish with? Ward?
I think, well, one of the things I wanted to point out when we were gathering the information was the data. It's really important that we get a lot of respondents to really be able to compare results from last year and this year. So as we move forward in future surveys, we really encourage all the NJCAR members to participate in this, because the more that participate, the more valid and predictable the data is going to be.
That's great. Thanks, Ward. Bruce, you have a couple slides for us?
Thank you, Lou. I do. So one of the things that we also wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about today was what can we do strategically to help stem the rising costs of health insurance. And it really is an insane world when we talk about health insurance. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of product. There's a lot of strategies that are out there. And I guess what I would start with is the fact that as a result of the Affordable Care Act, we haven't necessarily seen a stemming of the increase in health insurance premiums. On an overall basis, I would say the trends might be down a little bit, but when you talk about the range of increases that we're seeing, it's fairly consistent to what we've seen in years past. So, we have to think about strategically what can we do to help impact the cost of health insurance. And network choice and its corresponding discounts are a primary driver of health insurance costs. Claims drive premiums, that's a fact, and when we're talking about the pricing of a health insurance program, the claims are the largest component. So if we continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome, that's one definition of insanity. When we ask as a part of the survey, what are you doing to help stem costs, the responses were generally the responses that we have seen for the last several years, but I do think now there's a new opportunity around networks that will help improve your opportunities going forward with respect to premium. So when we're talking about network strategy, we have a couple of things to think about. Many carriers offer alternate networks. They may have programs that can be offered with more than one network. And again, that is a decision that's often driven by cost. Alternate networks, which generally may be smaller in nature, are often lower priced and offer additional opportunity to keep premiums down. You may also take a look at programs that offer dual networks. We generally see this more in the small group marketplace, but you may be able to have the same program offered with two different networks, and now your employees can kind of have a base buy-up strategy or make a decision based upon their providers and whether or not they participate in a smaller network, which again will reduce costs and hopefully result in lower employee contributions. The last point here around sub-networks is an important one because this is a drastic change in the marketplace that we're seeing, and one that I think that dealerships should certainly take a look at in terms of controlling costs. What we're talking about with a sub-network is an individual health insurance program that actually has more than one network within a single plan, meaning that every employee who has the option of selecting that program can utilize more than one network, and often with a difference in cost sharing. So if I have a two-tiered program with tier 1 being a smaller network, an employee who utilizes that smaller network will have less out-of-pocket expenses. Now, as we dig a little deeper into the network strategy and talk about alternate networks, this is not a new strategy, but we are seeing an expansion of this approach where carriers are offering more than one network option. And generally what we're seeing is smaller networks being offered, again, in hopes of reducing costs because of preferential claims. Individual plans can offer a choice of network, and at the same time, there are certain product portfolios that may be limited to a specific network. Oxford is an example of this, where Oxford offers their Garden State network. This is a New Jersey-centric network. It is a specific portfolio of products, but it is a substantial network that, again, can offer significant premium savings. We're probably, or many of us would be familiar with Oxford's initial strategy, which has been around for literally decades, where Oxford offers their Liberty network, a slightly smaller version of their full network, and Freedom, their largest, most robust network. Again, when we're taking a look at products being offered, there is a differential in premium based upon the network being selected. Now, as we talk about dual networks, this is a little more common in the small group marketplace, small group being defined as the 51 and below marketplace in terms of eligible employees, where you may actually have the same health insurance products being offered with two different networks. This gives the employees a choice of network and product, and generally offers the employees a choice of contributions that are coming out of their paychecks. Again, more common in the small group marketplace. A carrier where we often see this is AmeriHealth in the small group marketplace, but they also have some products in the large group marketplace that can do this as well. But it's not uncommon for us to offer AmeriHealth Value Network on the same product and plan design alongside their regional preferred or national network. And for those groups that are located in southern New Jersey, the value plan in particular offers a very strong network and creates some savings in terms of overall premiums. Now, sub-networks is really the newest strategy that we're seeing in the marketplace, and one I think that deserves some strong consideration. And what I mentioned earlier about the sub-networks is that a single product that offers more than one network that employees can make a decision and actually have varying out-of-pocket expenses depending upon that network selection. So when we take a look at these programs, the employees have access to two different networks and ultimately will make their decisions for place of care based on their needs, but also based on perhaps varying their out-of-pocket expenses. And we'll go through a specific plan design with Horizon in a little bit more detail. What's also interesting about these sub-networks is that the providers who participate in the sub-networks also may have a risk-sharing arrangement with the insurance companies. So ultimately, they're driven to keep costs down, and by doing so, can improve their reimbursement schedules as well. Now, Horizon's OMNIA product is making a lot of splash in the marketplace. This is a program, a sub-network program, with the OMNIA network being one of the tiered networks and Horizon's traditional managed care being the other or full network as a part of this product. We do see this available in small and large group, but in order to have national access, you would need to be in the large group marketplace to get that blue card for out-of-network Horizon coverage or Blue Cross Blue Shield national coverage. Again, what happens when somebody utilizes the smaller OMNIA network is that the members' out-of-pocket expenses are going to go down. And again, in OMNIA's case with Horizon, the hospitals do risk share with Horizon.
You know, what's interesting about this, Bruce, is as this market is, this product's becoming more familiar and gaining more traction in the marketplace, for those who have been in the insurance business for as long as you and I have, a lot of similarities I'm seeing between the old, when PPOs were first introduced, where your option was, prior to that you had indemnity plans where you can go to any doctor you wanted to, and you had a deductible and coinsurance. And then the PPOs developed a plan where there was a network and then an out-of-network. And we're having the same conversation, at least I'm having the same conversations now with my clients that I had 20-some years ago when we were first bringing PPOs into the marketplace. And that is, now instead of having in-network and out-of-network, we have in-network or in-network, but it's in-network with a smaller network, lower co-pays, less out-of-pocket for the employees, or the other in-network, which has higher out-of-pocket, higher co-pays, more cost shifting. So it's a very similar conversation that we were having even more than 20, more like 30 years ago.
Absolutely. Great point, Ward. So here is actually a sample plan design. This is a New Jersey small group program option with Horizon utilizing the OMNIA subnetwork. And what you'll notice here is that we have two tiers listed. Tier 1, which again is the OMNIA network. Tier 2 is their standard full managed care network that most folks are used to today if you've utilized Horizon. And what you'll notice is that when we take a look at the cost sharing or the employee out-of-pocket expenses for various services, it's going to be a significant advantage for someone to utilize an OMNIA provider. If we take a look at PCP, primary care physician copays, that is just a $30 copay after deductible, as opposed to 50% after deductible. Again, a better benefit in Tier 1. Same thing is true with a specialist. When we take a look at the inpatient hospital benefit, this is where we see a significant difference at a copay per day benefit in OMNIA, utilizing one of the 30 or so OMNIA hospitals that participate. And again, there's very strong coverage across the state in terms of the OMNIA hospitals. But yet, if I use the standard network or a non-OMNIA hospital that does participate in Horizon, you're going to see 50% coinsurance after deductible, clearly a lesser benefit than what we're seeing on an in-network side.
If I can add something here, Bruce, this benefit is noted at top as a high deductible plan. There are other OMNIA products that have first dollar benefits where everything is not subject to the deductible on Tier 1 and Tier 2.
That is correct. So when we take a look, and thank you for that, Ward, what we do see in the marketplace, and we see this across the carriers today, regardless of the carrier, regardless of product portfolio, is that there is a fairly full range of products available. And so within these OMNIA products, what we are most often seeing is that high deductible approach on the Tier 2 benefits. But on Tier 1, we're often seeing first dollar copays. Now, if I went all the way up to their platinum level of OMNIA products, we can see a difference in copays in both Tier 1 and Tier 2. So to your point, if you're someone who wouldn't feel that a high deductible plan is appropriate for yourself, please understand there's a very broad range of OMNIA options out there, and definitely something that should consider. And again, as you come down to the rest of the benefits, you'll start to see some similarities between tiers, but ultimately the opportunity for the OMNIA product is there, and we are seeing significant premium reductions for this product portfolio.
Bruce, if I can add one more thing, I have a client that we started their renewal at 40% with more of a first dollar EPO benefit, and by the time we were finished introducing a single option OMNIA plan, we brought that 40% renewal down to 6%. So we're seeing some. Now this is in a larger group space, but we're seeing significant price relief on bringing in these OMNIA products. Blue Cross, as your point early on, is being very aggressive right now on these products.
Absolutely. I would validate that. We're having a very similar experience to what you just described. Now, just to put a final word on networks, in addition to the things that we've already spoken about, there are some additional opportunities or some additional considerations around networks. Again, the important thing here to remember is that the cost of the claims is what's ultimately driving premiums. So if a network has lower costs, then we're going to generally see lower premiums. So we mentioned national wrap, and this is an option depending upon the carrier and the plan design that we're talking about. But what we're really talking about here in general is adding a national program to an existing program that would then give your employees and members an opportunity to utilize providers outside of New Jersey or outside of the Northeast, depending upon who the insurance company is. So this was an example of that would be Horizon's Blue Card PPO option, where I would then be able to access Horizon's national network. AmeriHealth as well offers a national wrap as one of their network solutions. Now, with respect to Oxford, Aetna, and Cigna, generally their products will include national network access in most instances. But again, we have to think about this in terms of premium costs and how a national wrap might impact that. And then finally, with respect to ASO, which is administrative services only, around network options and self-insurance, the networks, again, are driving the claims, and many of the insurance companies will offer their networks and make them available on a self-insured basis. You can do this directly with the insurance companies, depending upon your group size, but they also might, what we would call, lease their networks to a third-party administrator who can then access their providers and a portion of their discounts. The only carrier that I've seen out there as of late that makes their network available only through their own programs is United subsidiary UMR. Oxford is a United company, but to be able to access United's network, generally you're going to need to purchase that through their administrator, UMR. And then lastly, there are many national rental networks. They're not tied to a specific carrier. Their business is basically leasing their network. What I'm going to do now that we finished the conversation talking about networks is I'm going to turn it back over to Lou Young to wrap it up.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Ward. Appreciate your time. You guys were a big help. You did a lot in terms of putting the survey results together. And thank you to Brian and NJ Carr for allowing us to put this presentation together today.
Great. Well, we hope everyone who's listening to this webinar found it informative and worthwhile. If you have any additional questions, we encourage you to contact Ward, Bruce, or Lou. Their contact information is included on the slide you see here. Finally, I encourage everyone to regularly check the NJ Carr Academy webpage on the Coalition's website for a complete list of all upcoming live and online training opportunities. Thank you again, and this concludes our webinar.